Hello everyone, welcome back to another interesting episode of AI 900 Hands-on Lab series. So in this hands-on lab series, we will explore about the conversational language understanding. The conversational language understanding provides an intelligence to interpret the intention of the input, and it does not perform any actions. The core concepts of conversational language understanding: number one, intent; number two, utterances; and number three, entity. Intent represents a task or an action where user wants to perform. The utterances: user might say something and your application has to interpret, which is your utterances. An entity is an item to which the utterances refers to it. Let's deep dive into the conversational language understanding by logging into the Microsoft Azure portal. So once you are logged into the Microsoft Azure portal, we have to click the language services. So I'm going to click the language service. So under the language service, the very first step, we have to create the language service. Let's create it. So by default, the language services has its default features like sentiment analysis, key phrase extraction, pre-built question and answering, conversational language understanding, named entity recognition, text analytics for health, text summarization. All these features are included by default. Let's continue to create your resource. So under the basics tab, the first option, we have to choose a subscription. Then we have to use either an existing resource group or you can create a new resource group. So I'm having the existing resource group. Let me choose the existing resource group. So in your instance details section, you have to deploy this language service to East US as a region. And we need to provide the name of the language service. I'm providing the name of the language service, home automation project. This is a name I have given to the language service, and you have to choose a pricing tier. Let me choose the pricing tier as standard pricing tier. Standard. And then you have to ensure that the responsible AI policy, you have to check this checkbox. And you may be able to hit the review plus create button. Once the validation is passed, the create button will be enabled successfully. So after you hit this create button, the deployment will take in a minute or two to complete the entire language service deployment. So I have already provisioned the language services deployment. If you click this language service deployment, create a retail home automation project. This is the resource which I have provisioned already. Click this. So in this resource, which I have already provisioned, you can see there is an option which is named as redirecting to the language studio option. You just navigate this to the language studio option. Now the language studio option will be redirected in a separate new tab. So under this language studio option, just go to the section understand questions and conversational language. Under this, click for the option Conversational Language Understanding. I'm going to click this. Let's create a new project. So I'm typing a new project. Let's consider retail home automation. I'll provide let the utterances language be English. I have to provide a description of this project, simple home automation. Next, then click create button. Now the project is created successfully. After the project is created successfully, there is a new schema definition window gets open. Under the new schema definition window, So by default, we have intents as well as utterances pages section has been loaded. So let's create a intent first. So under the intent section, let's add an intent. I'm going to add an intent. So here intent represent a task or an action that the user wants to perform it. Let me create an intent switch underscore on intent. So now we have successfully created an intent. So I'm click this switch underscore on intent. Under this, let's add some of the utterances. Let me add switch on the fan, switch on the light, put the fan on, put the light on, then turn the light on. Almost how many utterances? There are 5 utterances we just given as an input. Just save this. Again, we will be creating a new intent. Let's create a new intent. Switch underscore off. There's a new intent we are going to create. So switch underscore off. Switch off the fan. Switch off the light. Put the light off. Put the fan off. Turn off the light. So if I choose switch underscore off, we have to see how many utterances are saved. Let's check it out. Let's check this project again. Retail home automation test. So under this, switch underscore on intent has 5 utterances. Switch underscore off has 5 utterances. Just click switch underscore on intent. In this, we are going to add an entity. Just click add entity in the activity pane. I'll provide an entity, let's say device is my entity name. Let me create this. So here I have created device as an entity. Now let's map the entity. So here light is an entity, mapping it. Again, here also light is an entity. Let's map it. Then fan is an entity here. Map this. Then here also light is an entity. Map this. The last one, again, a fan is an entity. So we have mapped the entities to their respective intent, which is switch underscore on. Similarly, let's go to the switch underscore off intent, and also for switch underscore off intent, let's map the entities accordingly. Just choose switch underscore off. Just go to switch underscore off intent. So under switch underscore off intent, map this entity. I'm mapping all the 5 utterances with respect to the, let's say, light. Here also a light. Here there is one entity which is called as fan. So now we have created intent utterances and we have mapped the respective entities successfully. Let's move on to the option. So which means your schema definition is completed as well as your data labeling is completed successfully. Let's go to the training jobs. Click training jobs. So under training jobs, there is an option start a training job. Click this. So we need to provide a model to train it. So let me provide the model is retail home automation model. So when you give train a new model, retail home automation model, there's a name we are given to train it. So under this, you can see data splitting is 80% of the data for training and 20% of the data for testing purpose. Just click train button. Now you can notice the training job started creating, and you can see the status also training, how much percentage completion, and evaluation, how much percentage completion. Look at the submitted status as well. So now we have to wait for the evaluation as to complete. Now the training 100% is completed successfully. Let's wait for the evaluation option to complete 100% successfully. Let's wait for it. Meanwhile, you can see the option in the notification tab also. In the notification tab, the particular training job model is in progress. Once this is 100% evaluation is completed, you may able to test this home automation project. Let's take it for a minute to get successfully evaluated. Now the model says the training is succeeded in the status. Just to go to the option model performance. Model performance and deploying a model. When you see the model performance, whatever the model name, the new model name which we have created as retail home automation model, click this. So you can see the statistics as there are different types of metrics. One is the precision score 100%, recall is 100%, FN score is 100%. These three are the metrics which has been calculated for your conversational language understanding project. Now let's move on to the deploy this model. So we have created the training job. Let us start deploying this model. So under the deployment section, add deployment. So let's create a new deployment. The deployment model name I'm giving is retail home automation deployment. And the model which I have already trained is retail home automation model. Choose this and hit the button deploy. Now, what is the deployment name you have given? Retail home automation deployment name you have given for the respective model which we have trained in the training job section. Now, the deployment is completed successfully. What we will do, we will start testing this deployment. So for testing the deployment, go to the section testing deployment section. Let me go for this. So whatever the deployment name we have created, just choose the deployment name, retail home automation deployment. Let's give some input to test the deployment. So I'm given the input is switch on the TV. So this is the input I have provided it. Let's run this test. So when I say switch on the TV, it is giving the intense confidence percentage is 86%, as well as the entities, which is the device TV is confidence is 100%. If I want to provide some more example, switch on the fan. Let's give this input for testing purpose. So you can see switch on the fan. The end intent is 100% confidence, as well as your entity is also 100% confidence. Similarly, we can try for our another intent. Switch off the fan and run this test. So the intent says 100% confident in terms of switch underscore off the fan, And the entity is also, the fan is a entity, again with 100% confidence. So that's all about the conversational language understanding project implementation. So in this video, we created successfully the conversational language understanding project, followed by intents creation, utterances creation, as well as the entities mapped to the respective intent and the utterances. After that, we have successfully trained the model using training jobs. After the training job is completed successfully, we moved on to the model performance to check what are the metrics that is being used. After that, we will be we will be creating a deployment with respect to the trained model. Then final step, we have test this deployment. So with this, we have created a simple home automation project successfully. Stay tuned for the more videos related to AI 900 hands-on lab series. Thank you so much.